Hello, good morning. This is Sage live from the Kalkine studios and you're watching the Early Trades, a show where we share with you a glimpse of the Australian share market's opening trading scenario, along with the global and domestic drivers triggering the market's momentum. And in our first segment of the show today, we'll look at how the early morning trades panned out, taking cues from Wall Street's action overnight. Then in the last segment, we'll look at the prominent newsmakers grabbing the headlines during the early trading hours, as well as the movement seen in cryptocurrency, crude oil, gold, and the metals indices. So the Australian shares are trading in the red during the opening trade on Friday after Wall Street tumbled overnight following Kabul's attack and concerns of a potential shift in the US Federal Reserve policy over its bond buying program. The ASX 200 dropped 18.60 points or 0.25% to 7,472.60 during the opening trading session, after closing 0.55% lower at 7,491.2 points in the previous session. However, the domestic miners may gain on surging iron ore prices. And meanwhile, a suicide bomb attack at a crowded Kabul airport on Thursday killed scores of civilians and 12 US troops. And Wesfarmers is one of the major ASX listed firms to announce its earnings on Friday. On the other hand, the US stocks fell after two hawkish Federal Reserve officials said that the US Federal Reserve should begin closing its bond buying program. It comes just ahead of a speech by the Fed Chair Jerome Powell on Friday at the central bank's annual Jackson Hole, Wyoming Policy Symposium. The Dow Jones fell 0.55%, the S&P 500 dropped 0.6% and the Nasdaq tumbled 0.65%. Moving on now to the last segment of the show, let us quickly look at the highlights of the prominent ASX stocks under the spotlight during the early trades. And the first company on our list today is respiratory protection equipment manufacturer CleanSpace Holdings, which reported a 75.8% jump in revenue, up to 49.9 million Australian dollars, while net profit soared 92.3%. Despite the strong figures, the company did not declare any dividend for financial year 21. Next up is personal care products company BWX, whose EBITDA for financial year 2021 grew 11.5%, reaching 34.5 million Australian dollars, while there was a mild increase of 3.4% in the revenue to 194.1 million Australian dollars. The company also entered into an agreement to acquire 50.1% stake in the Go-To Skincare for 89 million Australian dollars. Also making the news, food production company TasFoods has posted a net loss of 1.4 million Australian dollars for the first half of the current year 21, while sales notched 5% higher to 33.9 million Australian dollars. The company ended the reported period with net cash position of 4.2 million Australian dollars. And meanwhile, the privately owned dealership group Peter Warren Automotive, whose financial year 2021 pro forma net profit before tax, or PBT, increased 68% ahead of its initial public offer prospectus forecasts to 75.7 million Australian dollars. Despite significant uncertainty, the management stuck to the guidance of 28 million Australian dollars PBT in the first half of financial year 22. And lastly, the therapeutic products company Paradigm Biopharmaceuticals has recorded a net loss of 34.3 million Australian dollars in the financial year 21, despite nearly doubling its revenue to 8.9 million Australian dollars. And currently, the company is looking for FDA approval for its Xylosol branded drug, which aids in the treatment of osteoarthritis. Now looking at the bond yields following comments by Fed officials on taper timeline benchmark. 10-year Treasury note yields hit their highest levels since 12th August before retreating to 1.3%. On the other hand, the US dollar surged from one-week lows and the dollar index was up 0.26%. And next, we'll take a look at the crude oil prices. Ending a three-day rally, the crude oil prices fell on worries over demands due to the rising coronavirus cases and oil rig fire in Mexico. Brent crude finished down 1.6% at $71.07 US a barrel. West Texas Intermediate oil settled down 1.4% at $67.42 US a barrel. Now, the energy stocks such as Woodside Petroleum Limited could be trading in the green during the day, definitely were during early trades, and whereas Santos Limited edged higher too on Friday. And looking at the futures and commodities space, gold prices stabilised as investors awaited Powell's speech. The spot gold rose 0.03% to $1,791 per ounce, and the US gold futures surged 0.15%, reaching $1,792.20 US. And the ASX listed gold stocks such as St Barbara was seen in the red during the early trade, whereas Newcrest Mining was also trading lower during the opening trade on Friday. Taking a look now at the metals update, the most traded iron ore for January delivery on China's Dalian Commodity Exchange ended 0.7% higher at 816 yuan, or in US terms $125.89 a tonne. And the benchmark copper on the London Metal Exchange was down 0.6% at $9,298.50 a tonne, and that was current at 4:20 GMT. Well, that's all for now in the early morning trades, and this is Sage signing off, but please stay tuned to Kalkine TV as we have many more shows lined up for you, sharing live updates across the economy, markets and sectors.